folks, we're ready to get cracking on with this now. It's early morning, got a couple of hours before the sun gets too hot, so we need to get cracking. Don't know why I'm whispering, because I'm going to put the grinder on in a minute, but it must be an early morning reaction. Anyway, we've got this in position, we're going to get the grinder and we're going to get to cutting it out. I'm going to go a bit oversized, just to make sure we've got enough material. That's one piece done. Right, what I've decided to do is actually remove some more steel to begin with, so there's less material to heat up in the forge, because I don't need this excess here. And then at the end of the day, if it's a few mil out, it's not going to make a difference in terms of its ploughing action. So with that said, I'm just going to mark with a marker pen the outline. And I'll just go all the way for that. Right, let's cut that shape out with the grinder. Right then, grinding's done for the most part. See that? Just got to do a little bit of file work on there. So I'll just stick it in the little wee vise for now and just tidy that up a little bit. Right, that's good enough for now. The other thing I do before I start forging, I'm just going to mark this shape out, this template, just onto this bit of steel. I'm not going to cut it out yet in case I make mistakes. But what I'm going to do is just mark it out, and then should the first one work out, then my template's ready to just be used again. Sorted. I think my plan is, basically, is to heat it up in the forge, take it out, clamp it there with a vice grip, and then just start working it with a hammer as best I can. First heat's almost done, so I'm going to turn my hairdryer off so it doesn't blow in my face, and then we'll whip this out and see how it's looking. Right, it's got some heat in it, let's see if there's enough heat there. I'm pretty happy with that. The first was hot. Wow, the heat transfer is mental. The first sort of slopey shape we've managed to get. Now we're just going to try and deal with the wings. Right, coming out of the second heat. So this is actually a bit too wide. If I sit it up like that, you can see how we've got that bit of bend going there. That's not bad. This, I think we need to remove more material inside here with the grinder to give it more availability, less tension, to then whack it down a bit more. Yeah, we definitely need to do a bit more work with the grinder now, tidying this form up a little bit. Right, so back in the forge for the third heat. Got the hairdryer on, so I apologise for that. I've clamped here, this galvanised pipe, I've clamped it down a little bit there to try and get this form here. It sits really quite well. So hopefully I can just rest the pipe, rest the piece when it comes out of the forge on the pipe, and then try and work this curve a little bit, which is my next mission. I'm also going to clamp it here with the vice grips and use the pliers, the spanner here, to try and bend this shape rather than whacking it. I'm going to have a go at both those things on the next heat. Piece here, raging hot. Okay, it's got some heat in it. As if you can see, we're starting to get a bit of form there. It's definitely working. It's really, really hard work. I actually think the issue is the strength of material here. I'm thinking if maybe I cut a bit more of a V in there, it'll give this the ability to bend over more, because that's keeping it in place. That's what I'll do, basically, is just make an incision in there. Just with the grinder there, just cut a recess there to allow this part of the steel to sort of fold over. So let's get it heated back up again and see if that works. Right then, let's see if that's made a difference. Needs to be hotter. Back in the forge. Definitely getting the shape, so we just need to deal with this discrepancy here. These wings need to bend down more. But ideally what I need is a clamp to clamp that and squeeze it down rather than banging it. Right, let's get this wing really hot in the forge. Right, I'm going to try and clamp the pieces together and use my vise to squeeze that down. I don't think it's going to be wide enough because it's only a little vise, I'm afraid. They didn't have a big one in the shop. So if it's not wide enough, we'll have to just go back to the pipe or maybe go and get a bigger vise. But we'll check it out first. It's stinking hot. Oh, it might just fit. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. That side's almost there. We're not far away, you see. Just got to keep working it. Right, so this is where we're at. This has taken, oh man, how was it taken? It's taken a good 2 hours. 5 heats, I think. But we're not far away, you know, we're getting the shape. To be honest, I think that'd probably work as a plough no matter what. What I want to be able to do is have these bits curved down and round. So what I'm thinking is, actually, the best way to go to achieve this, because I'm happy with this shape, I got this piece super hot and loads of clamps, and I just started clamping it down and down and down, both sides evenly, and then basically quenched it or let it go cold naturally. When I release the clamps, in theory, it should have the shape that I need. So I might just go and buy a load of vice grips and try and just clamp it round. And then I can just tidy the edges up and get some shape with the sanding pad, and I should be able to then crack on and sit the holes. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Right then folks, here we go. Right then, hot as you like. Okay, look at that. That is perfect. This side isn't, so a bit more hammering. Definitely getting there, definitely getting there. I think I'm done for now. I'm going to let it go cold. You can probably see there, we've got it pretty well clamped. The gaps are minor, to be honest. We're going to put the clamps on as tight as we can, just to try and see if we can remove this lip, and then we'll just wait for it to go cold. We're going to clamp it right on the edge, basically. Right, we'll leave that go cold. Right, so this is pretty cool to the touch now. In the meantime, I'm fairly happy with how this has gone, so I've gone ahead and cut out another piece. I'm going to deal with this off camera when I'm finished with this one, but at least I've got it ready to go. See you later, Coca-Cola. Right, let's get these clamps off and see what's what. I'm quite curious to see if it's actually held the shape. Definitely wants to spring back. I tell you what, I'm pretty happy with that. I'd say it looks almost perfect. There's a little bit of sort of finessing to do. You can see how this can probably just be ground off a little bit. It's probably not worth it, to be honest. It's probably fine as it is. What I might do, rather than faffing around too much, is just round it off with a sanding disc, like a flat disc. Round these corners off as well. Put a bit of a bevel on it, so it obviously digs into the earth better. Try and tidy this up, maybe with a little die grinder or something, or the little Breville. Just try and get like a circular, or maybe even just drill it, but try and tidy that up a little bit as well. And then we can finally think about popping the holes in and squaring them off to fit a coach bolt. But for the most part, yeah, it's pretty good. Very similar. I can't believe it, to be honest. Over the moon. We're going to have a tidy up now. I'm almost in the sun. In fact, my head's in the sun. I'm burning. So we're going to take this up early in the morning again tomorrow. See you then. Right then, folks. Here we go. What we're going to do is we're going to remove all these hard edges, round it over, clean up inside, just with a flat disc here. Just get it looking all nice. That's all the sort of jagged edges rounded off. I was going to maybe improve the shape, but I don't think it needs it. It's just ploughing the field at the end of the day. I might go in with a little bit more of the Dremel just to tidy up that little last bit. Let's just remove the sharp edges from in there now. So that's looking pretty good. Now we're going to fit it up to this, clamp it down. So alignment looks pretty good. Happy enough with that. What we're going to do now is going to drill these holes out as best we can. We'll drill one, now double check the distance with the side calipers. We're going to have to square up the holes with some files anyway, so we can have a little bit of inaccuracy and we can correct it a little bit afterwards. But for now, I'm just going to mark where we need to drill. So we've got our two little marks there. We're going to carry on drilling. That's the first hole done. Do the next one. Okay, there we go. Two holes. Now what we're going to do is, I've got my coach bolts which I've hardened. I've got a square head there at the top, so now I need to square off these holes, which is basically just a matter of going at it with some files, getting it squared off. So put it like that to start with, and let's start squaring it off. This is going to take some time, so I'll come back to you in a bit. It may take a while. Okay, widen out the hole. We've got our coach bolt. Let's just pop that, slides in like that, and then this head just sits flush like that, look. And then you can see from the back how it's locked in place. So when I screw the nut on, it won't turn, which is pretty funky. Happy with that. Gonna make this one look the same as this one. There we go. 2 square holes. Fits in there perfect. And so does that. So that's the filing complete. What I like to do now, just with the little die grinder here, is just round off the corners, the edges here, so they're not sharp. Perfect. This is now ready to be fitted up. This is obviously the piece that we forged. That's the bit that snapped. Whoever fudged that, you know, I thought I was bad at welding and stuff, but I mean, that is just mental. So that's the old knackered bit, which now obviously we've replaced with this really good looking bit. So let's just go step by step. That bad boy goes on there. That fits in there. And that slides through there. Here. Excellent. It's definitely the right nut, which is great. I'm going to leave it that tight. It's not super mega tight, but obviously it's tight enough. I don't know. I mean, these are all quite loose. I don't know whether this should be really like cramped down. That's something maybe you can help me with. Does this need to be all super tight, or is just locked in place enough? If you have any ideas about that, bung it in the comments, because I'd really wish to know, because then I'll come back once the video's published. I'll come back and have a go at tighten it all up. Right, let's move this into place. This one I'm going to crank down tight because it doesn't pivot. This is a pivoting point there, which makes me think it needs to be able to move, because as it bumps around, obviously this will move and then the spring will do its thing. But here, I think needs to be just cranked up as tight as it'll go. That's certainly tight enough. Again, you could probably clarify that for me in the comments. And then finally, this big bad boy here, which will stick a washer on first. Reach the max length of the socket. Finish it off with the El-Justabler. Right, again, I've clamped that down. That's not moving anywhere. This one's a bit loose. This one isn't. So I'm not sure how tight that has to be, that one there. I'm going to leave it like that for now. But any ideas, let me know and I'll either tighten it up or loosen it off, whatever you recommend. Right, let's fit the plough bit. For this bit here, I've already hardened a couple of coach bolts and these should be ready to go. So they just fit in there like that. And then they just fit in there like that. Right, I'm going to have to lift the plough up so I can get access. This one here, let's get this cranking. Oh, it goes on really well. What size is it? 17. Okay, I'm going to crank these down super tight, like so. Right, the bottom one there. Have to put a couple of washers on this one because the thread doesn't go all the way. Okay, sweet. That one's got loads of play in it, look. That one's rigid. That one's got play in it as well. Is that play because it's old and it's loosened off? Or are you supposed to have a bit of play because it's a pivot point? They've all got play, so I'm actually going to loosen mine off. I'll leave it not all the way tight. There we go. That's good enough. And then probably once the plough's in action, then this will probably loosen off and bend and stuff once it starts getting some drag and resistance and hitting rocks and whatnot. So we'll leave that for now. Right, cool. Looking pretty good. Right, I've got to put the original back on. That's the last one, back on. Everything's looking pretty good. Right, I have noticed these are quite long compared to the originals. So I'm going to get the grinder, I'm just going to cut those off, and that should be us pretty much done. think we're all finished. I can't believe it, to be honest. It's been quite a long project, but I'm super chuffed with how things have panned out. Let me give you a quick look at what I'm talking about. So the first thing we had to deal with was obviously replacing this piece here, where we forged this U shape, drilled it through and welded the nut on, and then put the whole thing back in for a heat treat. I'm really happy with how well this has come out. The welding all looks good, it looks excellent. So that's super cool. Then we come on to these feet. This was what it had originally, but again, I don't think it was an original piece. That's an original piece, which we obviously used as a template. And now basically we've got one forged piece there, and then the second one, and then the third one's the original. I'm really happy with how they've come out. They're looking really smart, and everything's sitting really true and straight. One thing I will say is, if we just pop that there, is now what we've got, basically, if you look at it like that, is there's no bits across the whole width of the cultivator that aren't going to get ploughed. With these new bits here that we've got, we've got, come on dog, wake, fudge. So as the plough moves through the earth, this bit here is actually slightly overlapping, so we've got total coverage, which I'm super chuffed about. And so the last thing I'll mention is this bit here. This is an adjustment which you can spin, and it pulls this bracket up or down. I've got it set where I want it. But what this does is actually defines the depth that the individual plough or cultivator blades penetrate into the earth. So that can be adjusted depending on how you go in and how things are looking. You can adjust that as you see fit. I've got it where I like it, so I'm going to leave it for now. I'll see if it needs adjusting after we've had our first go on the tractor, which is pretty much where we are now, to be honest. So we had a bit of rain last night. The ground is looking ready for a test. So I think we're going to get this bad boy hooked back up to the tractor. It's been a while, months in fact, to be honest. We're going to get it hooked back up and we are going to give it some and see how she performs. I'm so excited to find out. Come on. Right, she's all hooked up. I'm shouting. I don't know whether you can hear me or not. I don't know. But we're all hooked up and we're ready to give it a test run. Right, cool. Success. Let's check it out. Wow. No damage, no obvious bending. Everything's held well. Looks amazing. I think we're done. We're going to wrap it up here. Really happy with the results. As you can see, it's left a really nicely ploughed field, the same width as the cultivator itself. It wasn't doing that before. It was leaving sort of smaller, narrower at the sides. That's now been resolved. The spring that we welded up, this piece here, seems to be performing well, which is good. You probably noticed in the video of when I was cultivating there, the two front springs seem to work a lot more than the back ones. I don't know whether that's because the pivot point needs tightening up or just because those two take the brunt of the work. I don't know. Maybe you do and you can tell me. If you do know, you can put it in the comments. What I need to know now really, and again, if somebody's got any advice, that'd be cool, is just whether these should be super tight, super loose. What's the best way to tighten up all these bolts? Should it be all locked and loaded, super tight and then greased up and then left? Or does it need a bit of movement like a pivot point? Any ideas, bung it in the comments. And then the final thing that I noticed is it was riding quite high, so I could probably do with adjusting that front adjuster there so that the blades themselves go deeper into the soil, which should get us underneath the roots and then uproot. It did do pretty well over there on that lumpy stuff over there, but even still, that's the only other thing I can think of. Anyway, I'm super happy. I get to plough my field again, which I haven't been able to do for ages, and now it gives me opportunity to carry on trying to repair the rotavator, because now this big bad boy is back in action. Thanks for watching. It was a hell of a journey. I hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, I will catch you on the next one. Thank you.